Hey, hi. Welcome again. So, this is our third podcast. Basically, if you're actually on the first time on this podcast, please, I appreciate you being here. Very welcome, first of all. It's a beautiful Saturday, raining outside here in Virginia. This is mostly like audio version of the articles which I write on my website called sridhargargipati.substack.com. So it's like my name dot substack.com. Uh, so, okay, let's talk about basics of personal finance, right? So why exactly I'm talking about this topic? So I have almost like 13.5 years of experience, work experience, and I have seen many people throughout my career, my own family members, even a lot of questions have been asked around, and I see a lot of people, especially in this generation, millennial or next upcoming generation Z. So both of them are either spending a lot, and the consumer is actually increasing a lot day by day. So definitely, it's very important. That's the reason you might have seen that my recent articles mostly I'm writing about personal financing, budgeting, or other stuff because that's mostly the request from my users as well. At the same time, not just my users, I would say that's what like I have more conversation with my own cousins or someone or my friends as well these days. So we have to put a stop to this consumerism for sure. Always like there is a saying called more is always so less is the more right now, but people have to decide what is enough for them right before so not everyone's uh, enough is not the same for everyone, right? So everyone have to define their own enough, but there is a limit to this consumerism the way it's currently going. Okay, so it's very important that every individual needs to understand the basics of personal finance. All right, so once again I appreciate you being here, and so that we can just connect weekly on my own website where I post many individual topics. And at the same time, if you are interested, you can reach me on Twitter. You can search by my name, Sridhar Kargipati, or Swami Sri1. That's my handle on Twitter. Or else, you just name sridhargaripati.substack.com. You'll be able to find my website as well. So, so unlike this is not going to be a detailed topic. And this topic is mostly about the basics of personal financing. Okay, so I wanted to keep it in a very simple terms. The reason is the reason for calling out at very basic level as this is how I kickstart any new habits. So I felt it very easier to convey to someone else, and if at all you talk in some basic terms, right? So I'm not going to get any detail even in my article as well, and this one definitely I have specifically mentioned very few lines, not very detailed. Google is there for everyone. You guys can Google search, Bing search, whatever search engine you guys are utilizing. Just there are tons of articles, materials are written out there, but remembering the basics is most important, right? So why exactly basics? Because that as I told you right, that's how at least how I kickstart, how I actually add some new habits to my lifestyle. Okay, so like exercising is one of the best example in the basic list what I follow normally. So or else like my funda is like eat very simple and move more. Okay, so that's my way of exercising. And so far, uh, for the long run perspective, I always seen that the things which we keep as much as basic, the more we'll stick to certain plan actually. So if we are going to overcomplicate it, I have seen that the habits falls out of place. So it's very important to keep things basic. Okay, let's begin. So the basics of personal finance, right? So let's start with you definitely need to have some income, right? So but again the personal finance wise, even you don't generating any income, like people, the children who are actually spending this college education, they get pocket money from their family. uh, you are still having some income on your hand, so even you are not making income, you have some amount of income, however the small it is. it's very important to understand the personal financing concepts. Okay, so let's start with like accounts first of all. Say, assuming that you are getting some income, you are there's no point in keeping that in a hard cash format in the trunk. Okay, definitely that's not going to add value add neither to yourself or to anyone as well, because the value of like $100 or the 100 rupees, what it used to be in a decade back, is not going to be the same a decade later. Okay, so there is saying uh, like $10,000 used to be a big amount previously, but nowadays $10,000 is someone's paycheck right now. So uh, like monthly paycheck, like people who are earning in the tech sector especially. So it's very important that you don't keep that cash, because cash is a king, I understand, but it's only a king if at all you need it for a very immediate use, right? If you don't need it for an immediate, not immediate use, maybe you want to utilize that money in next 6 months, yeah, then keep it in the cash format. But there's no point in carrying the cash, because carrying in the digital format is much more easier for your own lifestyle. Okay, so let's talk about accounts first. So checking account, right? So very first one is checking account. So I'll just say it in a basic level, not dig into the each topic. So select an account which doesn't have a minimum balance requirements. So if possible, get the one which doesn't have any minimum balance, or at least get a one which can waive the fee if you deposit certain amount or your paycheck to it. Okay, which is nothing but either even they have a fees. Most of the banks actually, if you are actually depositing your monthly paycheck or your 15-day period paycheck, they will actually waive the fee out of it. So try to get that type of an account, and then ensure you have an access to the bank ATM always. Okay, so that's very important. Whatever the checking account you select, make sure that particular bank actually you have a lot of ATMs around, or else select the one which is like universal. Okay, so nowadays a lot of digital banks are coming, so it's not, and a lot of the national banks, although they are very good from the ATM perspective, but they really suck at interest rates and all that, right? And they do carry a lot of fees as well. So don't simply go by the very big banks. Basically, go by the bank uh, which which is like provides you universal access, like no fees for using any bank's ATM. Which means that by using their card, you can actually go into the different bank's ATM. Doesn't matter which bank's ATM it is, they are going to bear that fee off. So that's like universal ATM access. So account which next thing is account which gives you some interest is even better. Okay. So keep the funds in this account no more than 2 months of expenses in it. So if you're getting some good interest, normally savings accounts are the accounts which are good enough to generate lot interest rates. But check-ins account normally they are like your immediate use. So normally you won't find a good number of banks which are having higher interest rate, but if you get it, then definitely it's a right option to have it. And don't keep a overall expenses not more than 2 to 3 months in it. Okay, and you can keep your rest of your expenses in another account. So if at all any expenses are big, you can utilize other types of account, credit cards, or if not, you run into a very huge bill, then normally you'll get a timeline as well in order to pay for it. So you can use alternate banks where you can get your money back in 4 to 5 business days. But this is the bank where you can do immediate transactions, right? So there's no point in keeping more than 2 months of expenses in it. Then get the amount out of this account first thing as your paycheck gets deposited. So your paycheck is like the biggest amount which ever comes in into this account. So because this is your expense account, that's the reason I'm saying that the very first thing. So don't even wait for your entire expenses to go till end of the month, then see what is rest. Then don't never do that type of savings. Always have your budget, know how much your monthly expenses are going to be, keep that particular amount, and the very first day, as soon as the paycheck get deposited, immediately move the amount out of here, so that the amount which you meant to save it is out of here in the very first day itself, so it won't get spent at all. Then have an account which actually provides you a certain number of free checkbooks. Okay, mostly every bank will give you a free checkbooks and mobile check deposit. Normally, most of the banks now allows you to do it. No need to visit the banks, and online quick money transfer without the fees. So make sure that as long as you'll be able to freely transfer to your savings bank. So maybe you're not the person who transfer a lot to the friends, but uh, it's very important that you select one which actually allows you to do a good number of transfers without any fees. And remember, your the very first transfer which you are going to do out of this checking account is moving the money on the first day as the paycheck get deposited to your savings bank. That's your biggest amount which you are going to move. Okay, so that's all for checking accounts from basic perspective. Make sure you have these features when you select a checking account. Now talk about the savings account. So savings account, open savings account definitely in a different bank than your checking account. All right, so don't keep the amount in the same bank, in the same account. So whenever you're going to log in, you're going to see your 2 months of expenses in check-ins and more than 2 years of savings in a savings account. So making you two different accounts at a different bank together, so that you won't even see the number every day. Okay, that's not the number which you have to see it every day. That's a savings part. You're only going to touch it whenever you really need it. All right, that's the reason it's very important that you open this account in a different bank than your checking account. Then select the one which has a very good web usage. So actually this applies to every account. Doesn't matter whether it's a checking account, savings account, credit card accounts, your investment accounts. Nowadays, as much every account, every bank actually, or brokerage firm as well, they actually give them a very good digital usage. So make sure that they have very good web presence, so that you can do most of your transactions through online itself, right? So, and your savings account, make sure that they allows you to deposit money and withdraw money easily. So so this won't be like as much easy as a checking account, but normally withdrawal process from these accounts take 3 business days, and they actually limit free withdrawals like 6 per month. Okay, so these are savings money, so you won't need often. So if you are withdrawing more than 6 times per a month, definitely you're utilizing this as your general checkings account, right? But definitely, like, I don't think if at all any big expenses you have to immediately pay for it. Most of the medical insurances, they actually allows you a lot of time to pay for it. So any type of expense, even like bigger car expenses, you don't have to immediately need a money, right? You can get the work done in couple of days as well. So 3 business days is not is usually in a good amount of time to get the money back. Then the biggest point about savings account is interest rates. So make sure that you select on a bank which gives you a very good interest rate. All right. So one thing is interest rates goes here and there always. So just pick a bank which actually on an overall level meets your criteria. So don't simply shuffle to a new bank every time someone offers a higher interest rate. So don't simply go by like someone is giving 2.1, someone is giving 1.8. Because of COVID situation right now everyone is fallen till 1 or something, or 0.8%, something like that, right? And so there's no point in juggling just for point 2, point 3 percentile here and there every time. So just select which actually meets your overall criteria and just stick to it. Okay. The rates always go back. The savings rate, what it used to be prior to 2008 recession, they are not same right now as well. Okay. So don't simply go by the interest rates. Again, make sure no fees are associated to your account. Definitely some fees are there, just like I mentioned, withdrawal. If in a month you're doing more than 6 withdrawals, then they will charge a fee. But basically, it's a savings account. I don't think you'll be withdrawing more than 6 times, right? So in a month, that too, you're only going to withdraw, like, at least if you ask me, I haven't withdrawn from my savings account since last 6 years, not even once at least. So that's the you really need it. Okay, only at that point of time you need to touch those type of accounts. Again, make sure no fees and the minimum amount needed to maintain that account if possible. Okay? So now most of the digital banks, they allow you to open with a $0 balance. Even if not, that's fine. That's a savings account, and as long as they are asking you to maintain a certain amount of balance and they are giving you your required features, then it's fine. You're not going to maintain a zero balance in the savings account, right? Savings is meant to grow month by month or paycheck by paycheck, whatever your uh, pay style is, right? So it has to be grow. So definitely at the start, a little bit fine is also there, then it's fine. But if you have another good type of features, then definitely select this one. So you will start fresh, or you may empty it for the savings use it was intended for. So tomorrow you need money for it, you definitely need to withdraw a good amount of, or maybe like you're emptying entire account because that's your biggest expense in life you're going to spend, right? So make sure that there are no fees to it, and schedule auto transfer every month or a paycheck for the deposit. So this is very important, as we talked in the check-ins account as well. And so make sure that is on the auto schedule so that you will never forget. Run your numbers on through your budget, or have a rough idea. If you're very good at financing, rough idea is fine. If not, if you're very pretty bad, please follow a budget for a couple of months. Then that will give you a good idea. So on the first day of the month, just make it an auto schedule so that even you are away for a long weekend, you don't have to think about it. Automatically, the amount is going from your check-ins to the savings. Right? So so having this, and this has to be a very first transaction of your checking account. That's what I have been saying since uh, the checking accounts when we talked about. Then open multiple savings accounts for your needs. Or many banks actually allows to open subcategory of a different sub accounts within the same single account itself. The reason why I'm saying is, if you have saved for like 100K and that 100K is a big number sitting in a savings bank account, and suddenly you need that amount for certain expense. Definitely, I don't recommend you to take that entire 100K and utilize it for your expense. Okay, so categorization is going to help you to focus instead of looking at that big number and taking all away for a single saving expense. Okay, so make sure that in that account there are some different buckets or different categories, subcategories are there in that account, and divide that overall big number of 100K into a ratio of like 20 is to 40 is to 20 is to another 20. So it's like just divide into that ratio. What are that category which you want to save more, or where you want to save less. So this will actually help you. So tomorrow you really need to get into some expense criteria. You look into your bucket. Okay, although you have 100K, but for that particular bucket, you're only allowed to spend 20K. So I really want to look your buckets in that particular way. So if you're going to buy above that particular margin, is you're going to push for it. Maybe replan your expense. Okay, maybe if it's so don't simply keep it a very big number in the savings. Have a subcategories. So let me give few examples of subcategories, like emergency fund. Okay, have a category for it, like 5 to 6 months of expenses in it. Then a down payment, second one, a down payment for a new home. Okay, so most of like even in India, even in US, it's very important to pay a 20% of your overall home cost, even if you are going for a loan, right? In order to avoid some P&I insurance and uh, additional EMI which is going to cost you. So make sure always plan for that 20. Even at least I would say, if you ask an Indian like me, I would say if you are having pretty good income, you are actually able to buy a home on with your complete income, then directly go within a cash and simply buy it out. Okay, run the numbers always. But yeah, not everyone can buy with direct cash. And then please plan for it accordingly. Don't simply run into the higher interest rates and higher insurances for paying a lesser amount in your down payment. So pay that minimum down payment. So that this is the one of the second category. Sorry, I'm getting into details, but because this is basics, so make sure that let me remind myself that I have to stick to basics. So emergency fund, down payment for a new home is like one of the category. Yearly vacation, you definitely going to go for a family vacation, so you better plan for it. Education fund, that's one of the category. It might be for yourself, it might be for your kid, anyone else whom you are responsible to pay. Have educational fund. Then say for a vehicle purchase like a car, then definitely have a bucket for it. um, Fiscal and tax payments like insurance policies you need to pay, or income tax at the end of the year, or property tax for your home. So mostly like they this have a category for the end of the year. But mostly the taxes would cost, if you don't plan it, you will end up paying like $5,000 per year into those type of taxes. So or insurances as well. So make sure that have some amount always separate bucket for it. Then okay, let's talk about very bigger one, retirement savings, right? So that's no one is going. So this is, if you ask me, this is the number one priority among the savings for anyone. Doesn't matter how young you are, or even you are starting out. I would say retirement savings is the number one priority. Just calling out as it's a saving element which needs, this is type which needs more growth than just sitting in a savings account. So ideally speaking, retirement savings should not be sitting in your savings bank account. There is a reason for it, because not, say if your bank is going down, so not every bank is insured by like in US FDIC is there, in India as well. So is insurance is insured by RBI, something like that. So uh, certain amount is only insured. So let's say if you have 500k, but your bank is only insured for 200k. So when bank is going down based on insurance, your 200k is always with you, even your bank went down. So there is a limit. So definitely retirement savings require a separate account itself, mostly investment accounts, but definitely have a bucket for it as well. Okay, I'm just calling it out in the savings account section, because even your the number is not going to automatically in your investment account. So in order to keep that money into an investment account, it's part of your saving cycle itself, right? Then yearly gifts. So yeah, definitely plan it. If at all you are a family who celebrate a lot of Indian festivals, or people in the US who celebrate their two biggest festivals, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they have a habit of giving gifts to each other a lot, right? So, so always make sure you have a little bit of budget for the gifts. So like, these are just buckets. I have listed most like eight or nine, maybe so far. These are just samples. Uh, so what are which interest you? Maybe set those top three, top four, top five, and have those subcategories in your account. And also ensure your bank is insured for your money. Like in US, we have Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Example, if a bank fails, like 250k US dollars is covered always. Okay, so make sure that you select a bank which actually has an FDIC type of insured as well. So don't just store your money, make it grow is a basic principle of savings and the investment accounts. All right. So there is a limit of how much amount you keep in savings based upon how much cash you can, how much cash is allowed by FDIC or like in India RBI, how much your bank is insured to keep your money if they fail, right? So make sure that you have only till that amount, and rest of the amount should goes into your investment accounts rather than sitting in the savings account. Right? That's good. I guess that's a basics for the savings. Then the next section is credit cards. So most of my subscribers are from India. So let me say this. So you can skip the couple of minutes when I'm talking about the credit cards, because if you're from, or not just India, like if you're from a country where credit rating doesn't matter, in US actually, home loans, car loans, even cell phone postpaid plans, home rent lease are the few of the many examples where credit rating is often checked. So in US, it's must to own a credit card to build a right credit score, right? So if because not everything you want to buy with the cash, you want to utilize the system which they have in place. So definitely, yeah, let's go through the section, but you can skip it if at all you're not from a country where your credit ratings have been checked a lot. Like if you're in India, you can actually skip it. Uh, as long as you're doing your Indian income taxes, filing fine, your returns, Form 15 and your income tax returns, then that's all you needed for to take your loans and your income level. That's all. So no one cares about how much amount of debt you have taken on how well you have cleared it off as well in India. Okay. So yeah, let's get into the basics for the credit cards. So select a card which actually suits you. So like cashback, like so travel credit cards or the business credit cards. So it depends upon what are the lifestyle you have. Select those type of cards. And let me say, like when I talk about credit cards, don't take any store credit cards, as shopping is just one of the purchase over your entire budget, right? You're not going to buy clothes from say Macy's every day, right? Or even every month as well. So uh, definitely, and if you look into the numbers, how much amount of the returns you are going to get just for that initial 5% discount or 10% discount. I, okay, okay, from a basic perspective, just remember don't take any store credit cards. All right, that's the main basic rule for the credit cards. Then cards comes with fines and fees. So definitely card should be free to you and should be good as long as paid on time. Okay, so yeah, definitely if you are very bad at paying credit card and you're not good at paying your debt on time, then don't even apply for a credit card. It's going to kill you a lot because interest rates are maybe higher. So only if you're good enough to pay it on time always, then apply for the cards. Then always pay the statement clean, uh, and so that's the most basic thing or primary thing for the credit cards. Uh, the longer you maintain the cards, the more the good, and do not have more than three cards. And the reason why I say is maintenance is very difficult. I- If you have like some home loan, running home loan, student loan, which is also included in the rating check, how well one is paying those debt. In such cases, you can just own two cards for that period of time. I'm just saying based on my own experience as well. I use only two cards. I don't have any educational student loans or anything, home loans to my name. But just with two cards as well, my rating is 785. Okay, so it's an exceptional rating as per the US standards. So make sure that you are, but you can go max three cards, but make sure that maintenance is very easy. All three are on your radar, and maybe you have scheduled auto schedule for the payments so that you never miss a payment on a card. Uh, So do auto payments for the cards to make sure you never miss a payment. So it's pretty most important thing. As I said, always pay the statement clean. So for a very less usage card, just make one transaction in a 3 months and pay it off. Right. So that's fine. You're not going to utilize all the three cards pretty often, right? So maybe you have a good online card and you do a lot of online shopping, right? you have a card which actually gives you a lot of gas points whenever. Okay, so you're not going to utilize all the three cards at the same time. Uh, but don't leave on a card completely idle. So what you can do is maybe uh, that particular card will actually give you a good returns on grocery stores. So maybe once in a 3 months, utilize do one transaction so that that account is running. Okay, close only when you are very sure about it. So the reason why I'm saying is the longer the credit is opened accounts, that much better is for the credit rating. Then next thing what you have to do is increase your credit limit as per your pay and the budget expenses. So say maybe you are starting with initially with $500 limit, but make sure that as your pay increases, increase your budget. But I'm not saying that your like say your pay is $6,000 per month. I'm not asking you to you can apply for a card limit of 6,000 per month, but I'm not asking you to blow it off entire 6,000, right? So you based upon your expenses, maybe your expenses are $600 per month or $800 per month. Have those on and make sure that you limit the usage accordingly. All right. Too much of debt is also not good for the rating. Remember that it's not like you're making income of 6,000, you're running a credit of 5,000 per month, then paying it off. It's going to impact your rating to the downward level. And so that's like pretty good basics for credit cards. Then so we talked about all the accounts. Like we had an income, then we talked about credit card, we were spending it, saving it. So when we talk about credit cards, actually like the most important thing which comes to my mind is I would say budgeting or conscious spending. Okay, so budgeting definitely. I have a separate article. You can go to my website, Sridhar Gargi Party, my name, which is sridhargargiparty.substack.com. Right, so you can find an article on budgeting, which I have written based upon one of my cousin's recommendation. It's do refer to that one. But anyhow, let's talk pretty high level. So you can find a very quick sketch notes as well in the same post because a couple of my readers don't read, which I know them in person as well to the lengthy posts. So for those type of people, I do a quick stick notes like sketch notes, so that the key level points. So it's like a picture and having key bullet points. So if someone is not interested to read a that much big lengthy post, maybe that bullet points or a sketch notes with some images will actually help them to remember the notes pretty quick always, right? Uh, so budgeting it's very important that you need to understand how to budget first of all, like have a budget mindset, uh, set your goals, make sure you even they are short term goals, medium term or the long term, rank those goals as well. Then build your spending report. So, what are your must-have expenses? What are your nice-to-have expenses? Then use some tracker like Mint in order for expense tracking. And once you figure it out, what is your budget? Follow your budget always. Reevaluate pretty often. The reason is if you find any issues, find them and fix them as early in the process so that you are not going outside of your budget by the end of the month. Okay, so make sure that when you're doing a budgeting is for your expenses and moving the money out of your checkings to the savings. So have strong determination. Remember your goal date, how much amount of the reason why you are following certain budget. Remember your goal date always and have an automate your savings so that your check-ins account which you're using for your expenses you only see the amount which is within your budget. Rest of the amount should be sitting on your savings account. So get that money out of your check-ins account, automate that transfer on the very first day, and budget is not going to be same. The reason is as you grow, your expenses are going to grow, and you're going to add some family members, you're going to have kids, going to get retired. So as you grow, your expenses are going to increase more. So you cannot live with the same budget as a 21-year-old at the age of 35, right? So that doesn't make sense. So definitely have a ways to boost your income as well, so that you can work on your budget as your expenses also get increased. So make sure that you pick a job which actually allows you to rise in your career, and also your pay increases. Okay, so pretty most important thing for a budget is, so your spending needs to change. So you need to change, and whenever you are changing, your spending changes, so does your budget changes. Okay, so that's the reason why I say budget needs to get reevaluated always. All right. So just remember why we are in the personal finance, why we are talking about, we cannot leave the topic without budgeting. The reason is, it might sound pretty boring topic, but it's one of the most uh, important topic to be on the right path. And budgeting, savings, these are just tools for us to handle money easier, so we can focus on other things in our life, right? So let me reiterate the basics pretty at high level. So look at your paycheck, separate your needs versus your wants, build a spending report. So break it down to every single dollar if it's a regular. Like if you buy a morning coffee daily, then it should be part of your expense report. Okay, so build a spending report uh, in a right way, and do expense tracking. So use an apps like a Mint or something like that in order to help you, or be an old style guy with a logbook. Okay, so do expense tracking always. Reevaluate often. So please find the gaps early and fix them. And budget, you need to fine tune it always. So once you know what is your must and nice to have, you can keep your budget aside. So as you will be spending with your routine. Right? So I know budget maybe alarms you a lot. It looks like a lot of pain to follow, but definitely once you're on the right path, you can keep the budget aside, because your spending is also automated. You know your routine now, right? So you are not going to go suddenly out of your budget next month. So mm, as you grow old, your expenses changes. So do work on increasing income. So so does make your budget fit again. So make sure that uh, you boost your income as well. So once we master this, no need to track it anymore. But if you see that spending is going in a different way, then do come back to the budgeting basics and get your spending, savings, etc. on the right path. Okay. And so I can refer you to two of my articles which I have written. You can look into the week three of my article, where titled budgeting, that talks about pretty good points in it. Then whenever I talked about budgeting, like my wife at least came back saying that uh, we need to talk about spending as well, right? So look into my newsletter 4, where I talked about frugal lens versus the value lens, especially on spending. All right. Let me say what was the main point in that blog. In that point was, uh, so don't restrict your spending, because if you're going to stress yourself, it's not good. So budgeting, this is just a tool in order to help yourself. So make sure that you follow the budgeting process, but understand your spending as well. The reason why I say you need to be very clear of what's your must and nice to haves. The reason is, once say you really like to dine out, right? Then make sure that that's your in your spending list. Or take I'll give my own example. I really don't like eating out. I cook. If you ask me, I can cook 365 days at home. So I enjoy home cooked food more. So if you ask me, I actually doesn't plan anything in my budget for eating out, especially because that is something which I don't enjoy. Mm. So, but I enjoy watching a lot of movies. So I apply for good subscriptions. I and like I'm fine to spend $600 on a headphone because I do lot of online learning. I listen to music, uh, or so a headset is very important. That was I spend good amount of time with my headset. So make sure that what is your must haves you can freely spend it. So if you look budget in that particular way, right, the must haves and nice to haves, then that will actually enable you. You'll be very easy at budgeting first of all. You won't be spending it, stressing about it, right? So budgeting, then let's talk about investment, right? Investment accounts. So we talked about like investment accounts in the in section of savings account, right? So uh, let me I'll talk on this particular topic in from two different countries, because I have personally worked in India for 4 to 4 years, to 4 to 5 years. Then I have like 7, 8 to 9, 8 years something experience in US. So I have worked in both these locations. So I want to share few of investing notes referring to both the countries, right? Because and also my readers and people, and mostly like people who hear me on this podcast, you can know from my slang that I'm an Indian. So it's and if having income in India and you're having income in US, it's very important to understand from both the countries' perspective. Okay. So before we get into investing, make sure that you have no debt. Okay. So if you have any type of credit card debt or anything on your debt side, please make sure that you clear it off first. Okay. So make use of your savings and make a utilize of your budgeting skills, and make sure that you clear the debt first. So I'm not asking you to clear everything. Like a home loan is fine as long as it is a long term. Uh, so make sure so home loan can run if you have got a good loan with a 15 years or 20 years, some lowest interest rate, and as long as that is going on a good path, then yeah, that is, you don't treat it as a debt, because that's an equity you're going to build if your home value appreciates. But if not, then definitely home loan is also something. Definitely clear the home, the one where you are going to reside. So, all right. So make sure that these type of any type of debts you have, make sure before you get into the investment, you clear those off. Then have an emergency fund. I would say 6 to 9 months. Okay, so I'm a minimalist techie, and maybe the Indian mentality. Not sure why, and so that's the reason I say 9 months. That's my maximum stretch. Right? So have a saving fund uh, set aside even for any upcoming events as well. Like say you have a wedding in next 6 months, or you're 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 going to have a baby in your life, or pregnancy, delivery, medical bills. So these are your expenses, right? Which are going to spend anyway in next 6 to 9 months or 10 months, right? So based on how near term they are, do have this money invested in a way so you can get it out. So these are the examples, but everyone will have some known expenses coming up in the near term. So planning for it is needed instead of no plan at all. Right. So when we talk about retirement savings, sorry, investment accounts, retirement savings is a top one priority in the investment. Okay. So as it should begin very early in the life to gain the long term benefits when you retire. So when it comes to retirement, there won't be any loans given out, neither you will be having a paycheck. So you have to plan this with a higher preference. That's the reason why I say retirement is a number one priority in your investment accounts. Remember, you're not going to get a paycheck once you get retired. Okay, so the savings which you're going to make in your retirement savings account, that account is going to give you a paycheck for your expenses for your rest of your living. All right, that's the reason why I said this is the number one priority. And start, even if you're 21 years old, you're starting today at your work, please start retirement account right away. Okay, so let's talk about different types of accounts which we can open. So and if you're in US, open a 401k account if your employer gives a match. So and see, if your employer gives a match, it's a free fund actually. And see what funds they offer. If they are like Vanguard target dated funds, then simply max out. Okay, so like every country has certain limit, because you are getting a tax benefit as well, right? So till that tax benefit, max out. I would say if the $10,000 is allowed, invest $10,000 per year into that account. Okay, so that you can get the complete tax benefit as well for that year. So if there is no employer match, only deposit small percentage to take a tax benefit, or completely ignore this. There are other type of accounts, but definitely if your employer has a good match, you get that's a free money. So not just that you are investing your own money, and your the investment account going to give you a return, but your employer's match, even it's like 4%, 5%, what are the match they have, take that particular match, but that's a free money actually you're getting. Okay, so run those numbers. There are very good number of websites out there which will actually tell you how good, what percentage of the match is good enough to go ahead with this type of accounts. So this is in a same as EPF account in India, which is employee provident fund. So do join a company always who participate in EPF. Okay, uh, so I'm going to say this because I have seen this. US has a lot of contract gig jobs, gig economy, or that's what they call it as in the latest trends. Contract, mostly contracting jobs. But please make sure, irrespective whether it's contracting or full time, make sure that the company always participate in like 401k policies, or like employee provident fund provides your life insurance for employee, medical insurance for your family, or like in case of US, like uh, good discounted medical insurance for the family, uh, or in India mostly will get discounted parental insurance for majority of the companies. So ignore the companies who won't provide these type of basics. In the long run, definitely ignore these type of companies. Okay, uh, so be it a company who provide these type of investment accounts. So which is EPF, Employee Provident Fund in India, and 401k, this type of. Okay, so and remember, 401k has. I'm not explaining entire. This is basic stuff. So I hope you know what is 401k. If you're going to withdraw amount before your retirement, there is some penalties there. So a 10% penalty, like something like so. This is like basics. So I'm just telling you at a very basic level. You can Google around what I said in order to know more about it if you're very new to it. Open a Roth IRA account and invest money in it. Okay, this is same like in India, like ATC savings what we do in India, right? So open a Roth IRA account, invest money in it. Do not you deposit money to your account in case of Roth, and also needs the invest to get in gains. So if you're simply going to deposit amount in a Roth IRA account, that's going to be like your checkings account, something like that. Okay, or maybe like near to some savings account, but that's going to only very minimum amount you are going to make some gains. So you need to invest that amount as well uh, into the market. Okay, so banks also give uh, a Roth IRA accounts in form of uh, fixed deposit or the certificate of deposit CDs, uh, which almost same as savings bank interest rate. So I don't recommend taking a fixed deposit or like IRA in a certificate of deposit CDs form. But if you're maxing your savings bank account, maybe like little bit of 5%, 10% of your portfolio amount can go here, but definitely I don't recommend, because if you look into the market, total number of percentage of the returns compared to fixed deposits to the market investment is lot. Market investment is higher at least by more than 5 to 6%. So it's worth to open a brokerage firm like Vanguard or others, so you can invest in the market. So this is like a ATC savings what we do in India, where we open fixed deposit for say 5 years to get a tax benefit for that year, or like LIC money back policies, like 20 years insurance policy, which you are paying yearly some amount, and they are going to come under the ATC savings bucket in India. So in both cases, the actual amount you deposited is not taxed, but the gains are taxed at the time of the withdrawal. Okay, that's fine, right? It's only because it's you're saving right now, and tomorrow even you're withdrawing it, your actual amount is not going to tax again, because this is your after tax amount. You're already paid tax today, then you're paying this year into these savings. So this is so you're paying only after tax amount, so you're not going to pay again when you're going to withdraw it, but you're going to pay it based upon your gains. So this is a must as we get a current year tax benefit. All right. Next thing is, if your employer has an HSA insurance, then do opt for it. Everyone has medical expenses, even you don't have right now, you are saving the amount before the tax. Okay, so unlike 401k, you can withdraw for the medical bill payments at least, right? And also use HSA accounts for investment. All right, so most of the accounts, HSA accounts, also allows you to buy mutual funds, ETFs, or even individual stocks as well. So just whatever the type of bank you are utilizing, just search them so that your money is not just sitting there, and you can actually utilize invest that money in order to make some gains. Then, so as we just talked about, like through HSA, you can buy mutual funds. Let me say, I strictly say no to mutual funds, especially in India. This is marketed a lot over web, YouTube, TV, and all that. So saying that mutual funds is pretty easier to take, and please don't go into those ads and bullshit. So know the fees. So know the fees around the mutual fund. They really eat up from a long term perspective. So don't go with advertisement. Run the numbers always. So the higher the ratio they are taking, that's going to eat up. Say, what's the point of you investing $100 and getting a 10% returns, and they are going to take a fees of 6% in it, right? So make sure that you select. Definitely, that's the reason why I definitely say no to mutual funds in both US or even in India. Unless I don't think mutual funds, at least the one I have researched, I never found the one which are having lesser fees. All right. All right. Let's talk about good stuff at least. So we talked about retirement type of before tax, after tax accounts. Now let's talk about the additional amount which you need to chip in. So uh, invest in a target date funds as a very first priority in the market. So if you're getting into the stock market, make sure that don't directly jump to individual stocks, however the tempting they look. Your first priority is select a target date funds as your first priority. Like in my case, like Vanguard 2055, like my retirement year, etc. So this like every most of the brokerage firms will give you the target date. Yes, they have fees, but look for the brokerage who are having the lowest fees. So target date funds are guaranteed to give a return over a long term. All right. So the reason why I say target date fees, target date, see the definition on online. Like say if you're going to retire next 30 years, 15 years, the money will be aggressively be invested, or maybe like your last 5 years of your investment, then your money is not that much aggressively invested for the risk. Your risk is going to be lower, your cash is going to be a higher priority, right? Because you are going to get retired and you need that money by end of your retirement. So again, so target date funds first priority. Then, then the second choice, like invest in a index fund as a second choice. So this allows to invest in a multiple companies. So example, S&P 500 is an index of performance of the 500 largest US public companies. So individual company stock within this 500 can go up and down always, but entire industry is hard to go down, right? So take an example of tech sector. There is a possibility that one of the like one of the company can go down, like maybe retail. So see this example, like you will not be saying that every retailer is going bankrupt, right? So entire, it's very hard to go for entire industry to go down. So that's the reason second choice is index funds. Then individual stocks. Yeah, we can talk a lot about individual stocks, but only luck. Winning at them is a pure luck, I would say, right? So you'll read a lot of articles online that if you would have invested $10,000 in Amazon, you would be a millionaire or billionaire right now after 20 years, 15 years, whatever that number is. So don't go with those foolish articles. It's just a luck. Uh, you are here for the long run, right? So if in that long run you hit certain types of stocks, then yes, it's a damn good for you. But always stick to one basics, right? Make sure that irrespective of the market uh, volatility, you're always on the safe side. Okay, so that's the reason individual stocks is something like this. Chance of failing is a lot. So invest in a sector or a company whose business you understand and you really see a future growth. So if you don't know the process how certain industry is running a business, then simply stay away from being their shareholder, right? So if you really don't understand them, definitely, if you don't know how such someone is making the amount they have in their books, how they're running their business, you are not running really their business, but you need to understand about the particular sector, right? How much amount of the amount someone needs to have to keep their business running. So do your research always. Okay. So these are just so these are like a couple of different types of sub parts within investment accounts which we touched talked about. These are just basics, I would say, in order for you to get started. So rather being in a fear and holding the cash, do invest the money. See, as economy is not going to be the same, today's cash value is not going to be same after a decade or the 3 decades after you plan to retire as well. So make sure that cash is always invested. So irrespective of your choice of investment, do diversify. So it's very important. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. The saying like, so do diversify. So you need to understand there are different blocks which explains how well you can diversify your accounts. So go with certain ratio. So diversification is lot important. Like have 40%, like 20% in your 401k, Roth IRA, some percentage, your target dated fund, some percentages, your individual stocks, some percentages. So break it down so that you're not impacted even like if one of the account is going down. So diversification is a lot important in the stock market scenario. Mm, so there are many other types of investment like cryptocurrency. Definitely not my cup of tea. I'm really not sure how well they are going to go up or down. So I'll stay away from it. Maybe like as an Indian, I would say invest in a gold. So make sure that you select your different types of investment strategies and have a good amount in your cash. Cash is the king, remember that. But don't keep more than whatever the FDIC, the amount which is insured by your bank, right? So keep that amount in the cash based upon your emergency funds, or what are the immediate amount which you are going to utilize in next one or 2 years. And don't risk it, and see where you are, and remember your goals always. So it's very important in the stock market. So don't get panicked. Market is a volatile in nature always. But if you look into the long term, 10 years of a history, markets goes up and downs every now and often. But if you stick to your plan, and you are going to come out safe, I would say. So, so in the basics like of a personal finance, we need to talk about some life big ticket expenses in the planning, right? So we talked about like savings, checking accounts, budgeting. Like then you need to boost your income as well as you grow. Then in your investment accounts. So next we need to plan some big ticket expenses as well. So we talked about couple of these sub buckets in your savings account, but let's talk about life biggest expenses as well, because they have to be part of your personal finance, because you have to plan for it. So education fund, so do plan for this always. And let me say educational fund for you is a top priority. So for your kid, I would say that comes as a third priority, because your first priority is within education. Your education is important. Your kid's education, you can go for a student loan. Once the kid will get in a job, they'll be on a path to pay it off, right? Your retirement is your very first priority, right? So please make sure you rank your goals accordingly. Okay. uh, the education fund, definitely plan for yourself, because at least I stay in a sector, technology sector, where I cannot stay with the same skill uh, through which I have joined on the day one on the job, and after 13 years I cannot be on the same skill again, right? Every 2 years I need to reskill myself based upon the how the technology is evolving over there. So reskilling will help you in the long term, in the future. If you need to learn something, I would simply recommend you to pick a good ebook, or even if you are interested in a paper book. Don't ever think about buying, especially in a book. You can get it for within $20, or select like an ebook option. You'll get even much lesser. And hardly reading a one article, two articles, not going to inspire you, not going to get a life, uh, life solid advice, right? So $20 is nothing. Don't even think about it. If you're interested to learn about personal finance, pick a book and do a good read about it. Maybe the author will not be right on many aspects, but there will be some advice which will be helpful for you in the long run always. So I normally read a lot of books, and every book, if you ask me, I don't remember entire book, right? Every book comes with like a 10 or 15 main agenda topics. I don't remember all of them. All I remember maybe like one particular section or one particular agenda item which really sticks with me even after a decade, right? So if you read an article, definitely, at least I have seen it in my case, if I read a very good article, it doesn't sticks to me, right? But if I read a pretty good book where I have spent 90 minutes on one single chapter, reading it line by line and really understanding or taking notes, that's going to stick with me for the long run. That's the reason, on any topic which you feel that it's going to be a future need, definitely I would say instead of one article, one video blog, I would say simply pick on a book that's going to give a much more higher volume of information to you. Okay. So education fund, make sure you plan for it and have a plan. If you have education loans as in a debt, so also plan to clear it off. Okay. Wedding expenses. So you may, so wedding expenses is also one of the you yeah, you may not think, okay, I'm just going to, we are just two of us, we are just going to get married in a court, and we don't need to spend that much on the wedding. But you never know, uh, the wedding is always two families, so you never know. You may start with 50 people, you might be inviting 300, 400, or if you talk in Indian numbers, you will be inviting 2000, 3000 as well. So if you are celebrating, it's even before you know it, this is going to be in a pretty big check out of your pocket. Okay. So however, people who are there 21, 22, 25, or 28, what are your wedding dates, 30, or whenever you're going to get married, please make sure you better plan for it, because this is going to be a good expense from your shopping. It's a, so do plan for it. So better plan for this particular expense rather than flushing all your earned money so far and spending it in just in a week or 2 weeks, right? So have this as a sub bucket. And home buying, I guess, this home buying is, this is one of the biggest expense in our life. So do plan for it. And so also buying a home is not always the right choice in many markets. Okay. Don't believe especially renting is throwing a money. So if you just ask me, I'm not saying don't. Uh, Once I'm saying that you need to have a amount for your down payment for your home, and also right now I'm saying that uh, home buying is not a right choice in many markets as well, right? So you need to understand. Okay, I'm in US in last 7 years. I rent here. India, my parents stay there, and yeah, I have done some real estate investments in India as well. I'm not against it. All I'm saying is you need to understand the market. All right. So don't believe that renting is throwing the money. So do you the market research on your own. So decide if renting or buying is a better choice for you. Okay. So you'll find many online tools. If you go through my blog, I have recommended the New York Times buy rent calculator. But you'll find many of the based upon which country you are, you can find buy versus rent calculator online. So run the numbers. If renting is better for you, then do rent. Else, do buy. Okay. So real estate is one of the trickiest market. Don't simply, if you're not understand the market, and if you don't understand the real estate costs, don't get into it. Okay. So understand the home buying and the maintenance process for sure before you get into the biggest investment of your life. Okay. Especially in US, if you're pretty new to the home buying process, a very first time home buyer, please do on a good 4 hour like YouTube learning or LinkedIn learning, or wherever your Udemy or wherever you find it, pick up one good course. Understand that many elements goes into it. It's not like your exact rent is not going to be your EMI. There are additional expenses maintaining the home. Okay. So uh, that's, so I'm not saying don't buy. Because even I have made some investments where I have bought homes. That's the reason I'm saying you need to understand which, what is the right choice for you, right? So if you rent, then do make sure to invest the rest of your money, right? So let me give an example of, so that you won't get confused what I'm trying to say. Say you are staying in an area where actually if you buy a home over a period of time, say by monthly, you need to pay $2,000 per month as a rent, right? If you buy it, but maybe in that area you are actually getting for rents in $1,400, so that's almost like $600 gap, right? So if you're sitting in those type of areas, and Another thing is how good the area is going to evolve in the next 5 years down the line, right? Is the area is some part of some upcoming ventures. It, today your 50k investment is going to be 250k returns, right? So those type of returns you're talking in the real estate crazy. Then real estate never go that much crazy, I would say, unless you're really sitting in some Silicon Valley. But if not, your 50k can become 100k. Just this is just an example, right? So you won't get a 50k homes in US. So just giving an example. So run the numbers, so you'll understand in an area where you are better buying, uh, and if not, it's better to rent. Okay, so understand that those buyings, those strategy around it, maybe if you are rent, you can actually go anywhere in the world, right? Even in the same country, you can go anywhere in a location. So if you want to stick to a certain location, maybe throughout your work life, then location is a top priority, and if buying is a good choice, then definitely buy. So but make sure that if you rent, do make sure that the rest of the amount is whatever you are actually saving. Make sure that you are going to invest that amount, right? Okay, so I guess that's all for the basics. So let me just quickly recap in the personal finance what are we talked about. Your checking accounts, your savings account. Within saving, we talked about different buckets, so that you differentiate your big saving account numbers into a smaller numbers. Credit cards, uh, we talked about budgeting, especially conscious spending. That's a skill. Budgeting, we haven't talked much, but please refer, or I'll do another podcast on the budgeting article which I have written. Okay. Uh, then investments, talked about retirement savings, tax benefit accounts, or the brokerage firm type of accounts, stock market. Which one are the good ones? Mm, I guess we talked more than basics. We talked a little bit detailed for the investment, because this is something which I want no one to. I don't want to mislead someone. I want everyone to win in the investment, because this is not just uh, a 1 month gain or 2 months, right? This is going to be your lifetime gains. So that's the reason I went a little bit detail on the investment side. Then I definitely talked about like life biggest expenses, which definitely everyone needs to get planned. Okay, so that's all for the basics. So do let me know how exactly how you feel about these audio recordings of my articles. I'm just doing because I know a couple of my readers uh, who don't read a lengthy post. So for them, I started doing, not just for them, for myself as well, in order to learn sketch learning, because it interested me this year. So I'm doing sketch notes for them so that they can quickly refer to the sketch notes and learn. And also I have the readers who actually, uh, rather than reading, they want to actually listen in audio format, right? So uh, that's the reason. This is not really in a podcast style where I'm interviewing someone else. I'm the only the one person. I'm just talking alone in the room, sitting in the room. But I know if you have any one person is going to hear this, and you at least pick some good basic points, then that's all I need uh, for doing this audio strategy around my articles. So that's also, do refer to the show notes on the podcast episode. I'll refer to my uh, website sridhargaripati.substack.com, where I'll also post this particular article link there. So if if my slang uh, was a little bit disturbing for you because of my Indian speaking, but if you like to read, then definitely that I'm posting that entire article link, so you can click on it. You can directly read it. All right. So that's all for this week. So stay connected, share ideas, and spread happiness.